Your Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, happy Tuesday evening to all you Locked On Penguins and, of course, the Locked On Ducks listeners as well. I'm Hunter Hodes. I do have Jason here, of course, for a nice little crossover because these two teams play yet again tonight. And this is definitely, I think, going to be a pretty good game. I think the Penguins are going to be fired up, I think is the way to say it, because they lost their 10-game winning streak to the Stars. There's a couple more players in COVID protocol, but Jason, the big news of today, Evgeni Malkin makes his long-awaited return from the playoffs where he last played Game 6 against the Islanders, played on one leg, had 6 points in 4 games. He now makes his return. What are you most looking forward to with this matchup, you think?
I'm looking forward to some of the other guys coming back for the Ducks because the Ducks had 8 players under protocol. Not so much anymore, thank goodness. Most of those guys are now out of protocol. So that's what I'm most excited about. I'm excited about seeing the kids again.
You have the hashtag on your Twitter, hashtag let the kids play. I think you've been saying that for the last year. It looks like they're finally starting to do that. And, those kids have been pretty good this year. The Ducks have been a team, I said it when I went on your show and everything. They definitely surprised me this year. Troy Terry's been awesome, been one of the NHL's leading goal scorers. Jamie Drysdale. Trevor Zegras is incredible. You got Sonny Milano having a breakout season when no one ever saw that coming. John Gibson's return to form.
I saw that coming. Come on.
Yeah.
He was one of my guys preseason.
Go ahead.
Yeah, preseason, when I had my predictions, I said, Sonny Milano, watch out for this guy. He could be the one name that people don't know yet, but we're going to be talking about later on. Boy, how right I was.
You nailed that one. One of mine was, that Jason Zucker was going to break out this year. That's been one that has been a nice old takes exposed right there. He's also banged up right now.
Yeah, but my bad take was that the Ducks would finish last. Although, to be fair, a lot of people had the Ducks finishing last.
I had them closer to the bottom. I will say that. I did not think they would be this good this year. Looks like they're kind of almost locked for a playoff spot if they can just, keep winning, which would be pretty huge just because, with the rebuild and everything, getting to the playoffs, a lot of people said was like a year or two away or something like that. But, Jason, these two teams played a really good game just about a month ago. If I'm not mistaken, Casey DeSmith got the start. To be fair, you got Casey DeSmith's best start of the season because he's been really bad since then. Tonight, you're going to get Tristan Jarry, one of the league's best goaltenders. He's been right around .930, a bit over. During the 10-game winning streak, his save percentage was .950. He's been on.
Yeah, but you know what? You also got some really good goaltending from John Gibson and Anthony Stolarz. You had a perfect Anthony Stolarz that day. Just FYI.
He was awesome. I'm pretty sure he came in for Gibson because he got hurt, if I recall.
Yes, he did. That is correct. Gibby had to leave after 2 periods. So in came Stolarz, who was a perfect 13 for 13 in relief. So, DeSmith was good. Stolarz was just as good as well. So maybe this could be another low-scoring game.
It was just that Brock had that goal in the first period. But he will not be playing in this matchup. The Penguins have their COVID problems of their own. Zach Aston Reese and Danton Heinen were put on the list today. This is Aston Reese's second time he tested positive in the last 3 months. So it's just, who knows if this team will ever be healthy. It's basically an if, not when, for the Penguins, I think. But
right now for the Ducks, they only have 3 players under protocol. John Gibson, unfortunately, Vinny Lettieri, and Sam Carrick. Kind of sucks seeing those guys. Derek Grant is eligible for tonight's game, so he could play. Also, just off the list was Zegras, obviously, who had the nebulous tweet last week saying, let me out, Mickey, ah! He was not happy. Nick Delorier's off, yay. Max Comtois off, double yay. So all these guys are finally coming back. Thank God.
That's huge. I actually did not know coming into this that Gibson would be out. So it's going to be Stolarz then, Jason, for tonight?
It's going to be Anthony Stolarz unless Lucas Dostal begs to say, hey, I got the win last game. I want one more shot. It's probably going to be Stolarz. I think Stolarz wants a little bit more of the Penguins. He did well against them last time. There's no reason to think he wouldn't do well again against these guys.
He did. And I remember in that third period, he did make a lot of 10-bell saves when the Penguins were pushing a little bit. I know they were playing on a back-to-back, beat Washington the night before, and probably one of their finest performances of the season. But, they still brought it as much as they could, and they were able to squeak out a win that, I would say it was kind of a 50-50 game. The Ducks had their moments when they were pushing. The Penguins kind of pushed back. But then overall, it was still a good game. I think, we are going to get something similar tonight. I know some people on the East Coast are not happy that it's a 10 o'clock start. You know what, Jason? I live for those.
Wait till Thursday. Wait till Thursday night when it's a 10:30 start at Staples Center.
Hey, I live for those as well. The 30 minutes for me does not do anything because I'm up late anyway, and I don't need coffee or anything like that. So if I had to stay up until 12:30 or 1, okay.
Coffee, what is that? But hey, you have to play against the Los Angeles Kings on Thursday. That'll be emotional. But let's talk about tonight's game because it's a return for someone who's had the Ducks number over the years. You know who I'm talking about, Jeff Carter. He's tormented the Ducks for the last decade, and I bet he's going to score a goal. Just because he loves playing against these guys.
Would not be surprising if he does. He was a bit off in that last game, but he was still just a couple fresh days off COVID protocol. He actually was one of the players that Mike Sullivan said had mild symptoms, so he definitely didn't look right. I think tonight you might be seeing him, and this is just me speaking in practice, you might see him with Evgeni Malkin on the wing. They've been kind of experimenting with that. Just because a couple of the players are still, out right now, like I said, Heinen, Aston-Reese, McGinn, and Rust, I'm pretty positive at least, are still on the protocol. The players that from Dallas are not going to be playing tonight. The 5 days have not been reached yet. But at least what they were experimenting with yesterday in practice, it looks like that they might have Carter on the wing, which I'm fine with, but obviously you want him at your third line center. But
and you want him at full strength too. That's the other thing.
No, absolutely. I mean, he brings an element to this team that, probably hasn't been seen since Nick Bonino was there. So I'm excited to see how much better he looks, just because before he got COVID, he was actually starting to turn it up a little bit. Started slow, but he was overall having a pretty decent season. So it was already almost up to 10 goals. And I'm sure it's going to be a very emotional return that next game when I talk with Sarah of Locked On Kings, because, Carter was obviously in LA for so many years. Can't wait to do that tribute. But, he's definitely – I would not be surprised if he is a big-time player tonight, especially with how you said he has crushed the Ducks over the years with how many times they played.
Yeah, he has. I mean, I could go back to at least a couple moments 6-7 years ago where he just tormented the Ducks, and they said, enough already. We remember.
Yeah, a couple times. I remember, I think there was a couple distinct ones in the playoffs, I believe, when they had a playoff series. I think he did.
I'll go back to that one, 2014.
Yeah, that's a distinct one. I wonder what happened that year. Okay, that was probably a bit mean.
The Kings won that one. That's fine. I mean, the Kings won that one in 2014. It was a good series. That was also the swan song of one Teemu Selanne.
Yeah,
last game against them.
I'll say that, man. Always one of my favorites to watch. I love Teemu, especially when they had, the jersey that you're wearing right now. Those jerseys are
the Mighty Ducks.
The Mighty Ducks. I mean, come on. I have my Penguins.
Just for you, buddy.
I have my Penguins long sleeve shirt on with my 71. You can't really see it up here, but there's the 71 just because Gino's playing. I'm so ecstatic for him to be back because it's been such a long recovery. And, I'm glad that they kind of lost the last game. This is going to sound weird, but I'm glad that they lost the last game because I don't need to hear the takes that, oh, well, Evgeny Malkin is going to screw up the team chemistry now that they lost the first game he's back. Blah, 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 blah. And it's just a whole bunch of baloney. There's no merit to it, I guess.
Although I did actually sit down to watch that game for the sole reason that I knew the matchup was coming up. So I wanted to see how Pittsburgh did against Dallas. And one thing about that game that I was impressed with was for a couple of their lines, the forecheck has been very good for Pittsburgh. They're very good at pressing when they have to. The passing game is still, there are times where the passing game can be a little bit sloppy on their end. And I know you've seen this all season long.
Yeah.
Would you say that's one thing that's holding some of these guys back a little bit?
They are sloppy at times. I think the biggest thing from that last game was I think they were out of gas towards the end just because it was almost 3 games in 3.5 days.
Yeah.
But they were making some pretty porous decisions, to say the least, towards the end, 2-1. John Marino made a really badly timed pinch. Pedersen was not good on one of the other goals. And that's what happens. The Stars, I know they're out of playoff positioning, but they have a lot of good players. Sometimes that happens. Tristan Jarry had no chance on those 2 goals. They just had 2 bad defensive breakdowns. The fact of the matter is the Penguins tried to coast to that win, and they're probably like, okay, let's just see if we can close this out and, not really skate that hard and get regroup and go to California. Didn't happen. Now they got to regroup.
It's 10 in a row. They're playing with house money at this point.
Yeah. I mean, they've already – go ahead.
I mentioned this on today's podcast. Now Pittsburgh enters the SoCal Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is back, baby, because, hey, look, the Ducks are second in the Pacific Division. You know who's third? The Los Angeles Kings. And I think to me, that's more fun, is when one team is good and one team is bad, it's not as fun. For me, it's more fun because you have all these Eastern Conference teams saying, oh, these guys suck. They're no good. We're going to just we're going to roll over the Ducks and then trounce on the Kings. No, the SoCal Gauntlet is back, baby. You love to see it if you're a SoCal hockey fan, whether you like the Ducks or the Kings. You love to see it. I mean, I love to see it. More so for the rivalry.
I remember when there was a time when this road trip was feared beyond belief just because all 3 of these teams were at the top. And, obviously
Sharks, Ducks, Kings.
That was one of the best rivalries.
So the Sharks not quite back, but when you have both the Kings and the Ducks doing well, you're lucky if you get 2 points. Look what just happened to the Rangers. They got beat by the Kings. Yeah, the Penguins, they're kind of going into this going, the Kings, they're pretty hot. The Ducks are second in the division. The Pens have got to go into this trip going, I don't know. Like, maybe we shouldn't relax a little bit. I mean, yeah, you just had a 10-game winning streak. And the way they lost that game against Dallas, I don't know if that's good or bad for them. I know you say you're glad they lost. For me, I don't know. Because there was some sloppy moments at the end of that game where I thought this could be something that could be exposed, that the Ducks could take advantage of. And that's one thing that the Ducks are good at, is taking advantage of those little mistakes, especially when you have young guys that can skate like they can.
It's all about, I think, for this one, how do they start? Jesse Marshall of The Athletic, great friend of the podcast, has a great saying for the team. You normally can tell how the game is going to go based on how the Penguins start in the first 5 to 10 minutes, about 95% of the time. One of the 5% actually was that Dallas game. So based on how they start, if the forecheck breakout looks good, they're pressuring in the Ducks defensive zone and they're cleaning up well defensively, it's going to it's going to be well, I think, for the rest of the game. But if that doesn't happen and the Ducks are all over them, kind of like how they were in the last one after the Penguins scored that goal, that's, I think, when it gets a little more questionable. And Dallas, I thought, really took it to them those final 40 minutes. The Penguins started well. It's just they took the foot off the gas, which, that has been happening to them, I think, a little more than I would like to say recently. The Sharks game, that wild 8-5 affair where they just kept giving goals beyond belief. I think, like I said, that's one that's definitely it's not really in the back of my mind, but it's just a reminder, like, you got to play, good defense, stay disciplined, and all that stuff.
Right. I have a pregame take before we head off for the evening to watch this game. So my pregame take is going to be, how are the Ducks going to handle that penalty kill? Because the Ducks have one of the best power plays in the entire National Hockey League. But I've seen the Pens PK. It's really good. Like really, really good. 90%, I think last time I saw it, 90% tops in the league. But how are you going to generate offense with that penalty kill? But I look at who's back for the Ducks, like personnel wise. You have Milano on that PP unit, along with Zegras, along with Getzlaf, who's now back, along with Troy Terry. That's a lot of firepower on that power play. So I would be really interested to see if the Ducks are allowed that many opportunities, can they pull through and break out against this stellar PK? That's going to be intriguing to me.
It's the perfect unstoppable force meets an immovable object, just because, the Penguins, they're probably one of the more aggressive PKs in the league. And, that's one of the main reasons why they are not number one, is because, they don't just sit back, and let you, just take shots from the slot or the high danger areas. No, they take all that away. They will force the Ducks to take the low percentage shots from the boards or for the point, and either trust some of the other PKers to block the shot, or Tristan Jarry to make like a low danger kind of save. They don't give a lot to those high slot, low slot, or any of the high danger areas. They make you work around that because they collapse that area, and then they have
Right.
the other forward at the top just kind of going crazy, pressuring every puck carrier. And the thing is, it starts before that as well, when the breakout is coming up the ice with the opposition. The Penguins PK, or the first Y, is all the way back in the defensive zone, just giving that guy crap. So I think it's definitely a different PK that the Ducks will see, but this is also a different power play the Penguins will see. And they had that streak where they almost had 40 in a row. This is definitely going to be something that's, I'm curious, to say the least.
Yeah, this will be a big test for the Ducks power play this season, I think. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Or maybe they won't take that many penalties. Maybe.
Well, there was this game, not the last Dallas game, but before that, they had one penalty each. And I've seen another game this season, I'm trying to remember, no penalties were called. It was just 5-on-5 the whole way through, even though there were probably 5,000 infractions. But, Wes McCauley is going to be on the call tonight. I'm sure there's going to be something involved with him with a penalty call. I don't know if it's going to be fighting wise, because I don't really see why.
5 minutes for fighting.
Yeah, that say what you want about him, NHL officials as a whole. That guy's hilarious.
He is. I love Wes.
He actually makes it a bit fun, to say the least. But
Definitely.
I'm excited, man. The return of Gino is, a long time coming. They're getting good goaltending. They've won 10 out of their last 11. I did want to ask you though, Jason, what have you been impressed with lately on how the team is playing? Have they continued to stay hot and everything? Just, what are your overall thoughts on the team?
On the Ducks, I would say overall, I have to say hashtag let the kids play. Looking at the last couple of games, I look at the goals Zegras has had. Zegras has played a tremendous style of hockey, even though he was just under COVID. Last 2 games, especially last game, 2 points in that game. But man, Troy Terry is a beast on the offense. What I've been most impressed by is his aggressiveness. He's playing with more confidence. He's playing with more speed. He's worked on his speed a lot. He's worked on his accuracy. Right now, he's shooting at a 25% clip, which I know is not sustainable.
Yeah,
it was 33%, so maybe it's somewhat sustainable if he can keep it at 20%. He could score 40 goals this season, or he could be, as Sarah Ampado likes to say, he's Troy Vetchkin, as she says to get me in trouble. But hey, he could score 40. Troy Terry, I think, has been the biggest difference for the Ducks this season. He's playing with... Also, his forecheck has gotten better. He's playing with a better tenacity in the dirty areas, and he's willing to get down there more. And he's also got the great Ryan Getzlaf right next to him. When you're on a line with Ryan Getzlaf, that kind of playmaker, and you have that kind of finishing ability, then you're going to get those goals. I mean, I look at Troy Terry. He's got 22 goals this season. Ryan Getzlaf has 24 points. You know how many are goals? 2. Ryan Getzlaf has 2 goals and 22 assists, which is a huge disparity.
I don't even think I'm that surprised because he's always usually been known as being a great playmaker, not as much as a pure goal scorer. So I'm happy that he's still kicking at this age, even though he's gotten.
I misspoke. He has 21 assists, or maybe I'm looking into the future. So I'm gonna manifest this. Getsy will get an assist tonight on a Troy Terry goal.
Okay.
So, sorry, Pens fans, but I'm manifesting that.
He's totally going for that. And then you told me earlier in my DMs, just to wrap us up here pretty soon, you said a 3-2 overtime win, but you didn't specify which side.
Nope.
He's not going to do the full guarantee. Okay.
No, I'm going to on here. I will on here.
Okay.
The Ducks are hungry. They are super hungry. I think it's going to be 3-2 Ducks, but it's going to come in a shootout again. That's the only way here's why. Pittsburgh is very good in overtime. I've seen the overtime Pittsburgh Penguins on 3-on-3. They're very good. The Ducks 3-on-3 is okay. The only way for the Ducks to beat the Penguins is if it goes into a shootout. So I'm going to give you some pain. 3-2 Ducks in a shootout.
Well, I'm sure the takes, if that happens, for Penguins Twitter or just overall for Penguins fans, are just going to be hilarious, one way or the other.
If that happens.
I'll get blamed. I know another shootout. I hope you are wrong with that one. I think a 3-2 final score is definitely it sounds pretty reasonable. I think I'm going to go
close.
Man, now you're kind of putting me on this one. I have to make my prediction now. I think I'm going to go 2-1 Pittsburgh, and I think Gino's getting one of the goals tonight just because it's fate.
You would say that, wouldn't you?
I would. I just he's got to do one tonight. I think he's been out so long, and I'm excited to see him back. I think
Yins are crazy for saying that.
He had to put out the punt there, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Jason, this has definitely been a lot of fun. Even though these two teams don't play again the rest of the season, we will have to hopefully do one of these at some point. Hell, maybe they'll play in the Stanley Cup final by some divine miracle. That would be awesome if both teams were to get there. Jason, tell the Penguins faithful where everyone can find you on social media and the show.
They can find me on social media. My personal Twitter is @StimpyJD, and the show's Twitter is @LO_Ducks. And Locked On Anaheim Ducks can be found wherever you get your podcasts. And it's free and available across all platforms. So do check it out. I gave my 3 stars of the week. I had John Broadbent from Defend the Nest talk about Lucas Dostal. And also I cover the minors and some prospects on Thursdays, Goals Thursdays. So that'll be a lot of fun.
He always has the hashtag Let's Go Goals on the Locked On Ducks account. So
I also have Let the Kids Play.
Yes.
And I'm sad that our two teams are not playing each other because I have this new setup. Like I have a new setup with me. I have like my hockey poster, and I was going to do this and I forgot about it a few minutes before. So I have a whole bunch of jerseys that I was going to hang behind me as I had guests, like whenever I had like some kind of like crossover. So I'll let you talk for 30 seconds while I get that specialty jersey. You would like this. So you talk for 30 seconds while I go get it.
Okay, so he's going to go get something Penguins related here. For those that are not on YouTube, I apologize, but I'm just going to describe it to you all. Overall, though, again, this is just me for a sec. Definitely excited that Gino is coming back tonight. And what is that jersey that we have right there? And if I recall correctly, Jason, is that a Robo Penguin jersey that I see?
That's a Robo Pen jersey.
Oh God, who's on the back of it?
I like this player a lot, and I remember his goal in the playoffs.
It's Kasparov. Yeah, I was going to say it's Darius.
It's a good jersey. They got to bring these back. Bring back the Robo Pen with the gradient. One of the more underrated jerseys out there.
I'll say this: now that Mario is no longer the majority owner, he hated those jerseys. Number one,
I know.
So now that he's no longer the majority owner, don't be surprised maybe if Fenway Sports gives the go-ahead to bring that beautiful jersey back. The Snoop Dogg jersey is already good enough, I think. They wore those, I believe, against your team.
Reverse retro, but put that in white or yellow. Ooh. Reverse retro, that jersey in white.
That would be beautiful. I mean, I would love to see the Robo Penguin come back pretty soon. But Jason, again, I thank you so much for coming on this episode. I very much appreciate it. And, we'll definitely have to do this sometime, soon here down the road.
Yep. Quack, quack, everyone.
I had to do the quack, quack. We'll be back with an episode on Wednesday.
Take your gum band with you, too.
Yeah, there it is. We'll be back with another episode on Wednesday, full game recap of the Penguins Ducks. And then we will also be talking to Sarah soon as she gets ready to mourn Jeff Carter coming back to Los Angeles. So I will talk to you all then.